Hey guys, how's it going everyone out there? I just wanted to do another video here. It's time for our winter break, so I'm at home, I had some time on my hands, and I figured I would do another video. I know my rated board one, I saw like over 1,000 people looked at it, so that's awesome. So I hope it really helped help you guys out, and hope you do good on this next rated board that's coming up probably in February. So on that same subject, the relative standing score, or the commander's ranking, I think a lot of people don't really know what goes into that, so I thought I would do a quick video to explain kind of what goes into that, the thought process. I know it's different in different detachments, but I'll explain what we did here at our detachment. I was there for 5 years. I'm retired now, but I hope that some of the information I have is able to help folks out there as well. So this video is about RSS, which stands for Relative Standing Score, which simply put is the commander's ranking in Air Force ROTC. So as you might have seen my other video, which talked about rated positions, and rated positions have a certain number of tangible, quantifiable things about the cadet that goes up to the board. One of those things is the commander's ranking. So I wanted to shed a little bit of light on this ranking system, I guess. Now it's not going to be the same every single detachment. There are 145 Air Force ROTC detachments. Now I was doing Air Force ROTC instructing here for about 5 years. So, and I've seen 3 commanders go through our detachment, and we always have done it pretty much the same way. So if you want some insight into the commander's ranking and how you can maybe improve your commander's ranking, well then that's what this video is about. So I can just take you through it year by year. It is sort of a subjective thing, and we are required by Air Force ROTC to rank all the cadets every single semester, from the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors and seniors. And actually the freshmen get ranked among the other freshmen, the sophomores get ranked among the other sophomores. The juniors actually get ranked in their commissioning year group they're going to commission in, and same with the seniors. So if you have a 5th year person, they would be ranked with a different group maybe than their classmates are, if that makes any sense. Because you have 4-year cadets and you have 5-year cadets. Some degrees take 5 years and some take 4. So once you get past field training and come in as a junior, you might be in a different bucket as far as ranking goes. And that's the ranking that's going to be going up for your rated board. If you do want to be a pilot or a navigator, CISO, I should say, that's the ranking that's going to be most important to you. But let's take it back to the very first semester. So when the freshmen come into Air Force ROTC, some of them already have scholarships, some of them don't. It doesn't really matter as far as the ranking goes. But what we have done in the past is, for one thing, we don't know that much about the freshmen. We have a large detachment here where I worked, and we had over 200 cadets. So each year we'd have a new freshman class of about 80 cadets. And most of us in the cadre aren't going to know all 80 of those cadets, maybe a couple of them. The person who's going to know those cadets the most is that instructor for those freshman cadets. So we're going to get into a room. We're not going to have hardly any data on these people at this point in time. Maybe we'll have a PT test to go off of. So we have that, and ACT, SAT scores. So we want to take anything quantifiable that we can, and to kind of get a baseline for our rack and stack when we want to rank the cadets. And then we'll really rely on that freshman instructor to give us input in how the cadets are in class. So if you want to get a good impression, you're going to have a good attitude. In class, you're going to have to be like participating in class, raising your hand, contributing to the conversation, which is, I've seen a lot of the freshmen are the least participating in class. They just kind of sit there and we don't really participate that much. But if you're in there, you're participating, you're acting like you want to be there, basically. You're going to get a good impression to that instructor. And then that's kind of what we go off of. But the first semester's rack and stack ranking doesn't really matter that much, because you're going to get ranked again the next semester, and not whatever you were ranked the semester before. It doesn't really matter. You're only as good as your most recent ranking. So anyway, when the second semester comes around of your freshman year, that's when we have the first semester's GPA. And we actually weigh that really heavily when it comes to ranking the cadets from 1 to whatever. So if you happen to get a 4.0, then you're going to get a much higher chance of getting a high ranking. Unless you have a super bad attitude with that 4.0, then you're going to be brought down, if that makes any sense. So we take a lot of things in consideration. Another thing we take into consideration is any kind of extra above and beyond stuff that you might be doing. Air Force ROTC has a lot of optional things that you're not required to do, and which is fine. You don't have to do those. But if you are doing those things, if you're showing up to those things, you're going to have a better impression. And on that same note, though, you don't have to be just doing Air Force ROTC things. You're going to meet with your instructor every single semester, and you're going to have a counseling session with them. And during that counseling session, it's up to you to convey to them what you're doing outside of Air Force ROTC. Do you have a job? Are you helping the homeless, feeding the homeless on weekends? Are you doing dance marathon? You need to give that information to your instructor so that they will write that down if they're a good instructor, and so they'll remember that. So when it comes time for ranking and getting a whole person picture of you, that will be something that they factor in. So that's some of the things that we think about. But the bottom line is that first year, there's not a whole lot to go off of as far as ranking for rack and stack, for the commander's ranking. So the sophomore year, we get a little bit more information because we've had 2 instructors now looking at the cadets, the students in the classes. So now we have maybe one instructor has a different opinion of the cadet than another instructor has, so then we can discuss that, kind of hash that out. All of our inputs are only going to be going to the commander, and the commander is the one who ultimately decides what the numbers are for the ranking of the cadets. We would just provide inputs. And the commanders at these detachments are going to be lieutenant colonels or colonels. In a large detachment like ours, we had a full bird colonel, and he didn't see the freshmen or the sophomores in class, so he really relied on what we would tell him and what was down on paper. So you get a good GPA, you're gonna look good. You get a really high PT test, you're gonna look good. If you have a good attitude, you're helping people out, you're a good teammate, that's gonna make you look good as well. So those things all together can go into the full picture of you, and you're gonna get a higher chance of getting ranked higher. So that's the freshman year and the sophomore year. When it comes to the junior year, we have all the cadets. Normally, all the cadets would go to field training, and then come back with the field training ranking. And that is another piece of information. Now, if you got last at field training, if you were terrible at field training and you got ranked last, unfortunately, that is going to play a part. I don't think it should play a part because that's only one piece of data in a 2-week period. But there's more than likely that particular piece of data being low is going to hurt your overall ranking at your detachment. Although it should not; they should be independent of each other. And conversely, if you get a really high field training ranking, you're going to be more likely at your detachment for your cadre to bump you up higher than you were before because it's that halo effect. So they think you did really good at field training, you must be doing something really good. And you must have done something bad at field training, so you're not as good of a cadet as we thought. It shouldn't be like that, but it's more than likely going to be like that. So you want to do good in field training. Middle of the road is fine, but if you can, you want to be in the top third in field training. If you do want to be competitive for any of these things. If you don't want to be competitive, if you just want to say become an engineer or become a cyber officer or something like that, nothing that's competitive, then it doesn't really matter what your ranking is. When it comes down to scholarships and boards for the rated board, flying, things like that, competitive PDTs, like the flying PDT where you can go and get your pilot's license in the summertime, that's a competitive thing. So you want to have a higher ranking to do well in those things. Any special program you want to do, you want to have a high ranking. Speaking of that, I always tell the freshmen first semester, I say that the most important semester for their GPA is the very first semester, because after that first semester, you will be considered for a scholarship. If you do not already have one, you will be considered for a scholarship. That second semester, your only GPA that you have that matters is your first semester's GPA. So if you manage to pull off a 4.0 in your first semester at college, you're going to increase your chances of getting that scholarship. And I have a separate video on scholarships if you did want to see that. The other thing is, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? If we want you to get your DODMER, to get your physical done, or there's something else that we want to do and we have to harp on you over and over and over again and you're not doing it, that is just going to look bad. I mean, this is common sense. If you're not doing what we're asking you to do, if you're not responding to emails, that sort of thing, your ranking is going to go down. So you need to take some responsibility to get things done on your own. That shows that you're ready to be in the Air Force as an officer someday. So that goes into the relative standing score as your junior year. So when it comes time for the junior year, what we have now is lots of data. We have GPAs, we have a trend in your PT tests, your PFAs, we have your field training ranking, and we have probably peer rankings. We do peer rankings also. Now peer rankings, they don't really impact what we rank a cadet as. So we know the cadets, but we want to know what other cadets think of that cadet. So peer rankings do sometimes make people move one way or the other, possibly, but it's not going to be very important. Some people think that there's a lot in those peer rankings when we give them out and have the cadets fill them out, but it's really not. It's just kind of a curious of us to see if we're viewing the cadets the same way they're viewing each other. That's pretty much what goes into the relative standing score, the commander's ranking. And what we'll do is we'll get a spreadsheet with everyone's name that we're ranking, because sometimes we could be ranking like 40 people in a particular year group. And so we'll start off like weighing the GPA as a certain weight. We'll weigh the PT test as a certain weight. And we'll weigh, maybe we'll weigh what we ranked them at in the past as a certain weight. And just kind of like maybe just a non-quantitative X factor thing we might have. And that way we can do that as a formula, so we get an overall score, and we'll sort that score lowest to highest, and we'll see what that looks like. And then we'll have kind of discussions about who you think is a better cadet than others. It's really kind of difficult. It's hard to be in that situation. I'm not going to say, it's hard for me to say one cadet is better than another cadet, but it's a requirement. We have to do it as cadre. We have to rank cadets. And so we do the best we can to be objective as a whole person concept and see each cadet as all the different attributes they could bring to the fight. We aren't going to prioritize a type A person, like an outgoing, talkative person versus a quiet person. That doesn't really matter. We like to look past that and see what are you really going to bring to the fight? What kind of a cadet are you? What kind of person are you? And that's how we try to do the ranking and see just how well you're doing in ROTC. It is an important score. It's not every score has a certain weight. When it comes to boards, the commander's ranking is more or less impactful depending on what you're doing. Going up for the rated board, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think the rated board is 25% for the RSS. So I hope this has shed a little bit of light on the RSS, the relative standing score, the commander's ranking in ROTC. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you can do things to bump up your RSS, your relative standing score, so you can get all the awesome positions that you want to get. Maybe get selected for a cool job or a cool PDT. That's all I have. Have a great day.